Today, we're giving my AI personal assistant a much needed upgrade with Backboard.io memory. If you've been in the space at all for the last little while, you've seen these personal AI assistants, and they're all built in the same sort of way, right? They've got their AI agent and then an octopus reaching down to a bunch of different tool calls or sub workflows or whatever. And they actually work really well. I've had one set up for myself for the past year or so, and it's been nice to be able to reach my email or my calendar or whatever with voice notes, even if I'm not near my computer, right? But in practice, there's a lot of moving parts. Each one of those little octopus arms is a bunch of information going back and forth between agents. So a lot of places this could break, and it gets particularly dicey when you want to add memory, right? Wires get crossed really fast, especially when you're doing like date specific calls. Say, for example, you want to know what your calendar looks like, you make a call, and then the next day, it just remembers your response from yesterday instead of calling the tool again. So it gets you yesterday's calendar. Anyway, all this to say, adding persistent memory to your personal assistant was actually pretty tricky to do up until recently. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to build out a personal assistant that has persistent memory, has access to RAG if we want it, all in the one call, and has a more reliable method for calling tools. So let's just jump into it. Like I said, what we're doing today is we're fixing the personal assistant memory gap that used to exist. What we're not doing is building out a ton of different sub workflows and prompting a bunch of different sub agents and all that action. We're going to keep the tool calling in one place. We're going to actually use the switch node that's baked into n8n. And if it sounds like that's more work, at worst, it's the same. We're not building out sub workflows. We're not, prompting a bunch of different AI agents to complete the task. And I mean, we had to route the tools manually for those sub workflows anyway. So, I mean, this is a much better way to go about it. Under the hood, it's exactly the same. I've got the traditional sort of personal assistant agent right here, where we've got our inputs, we've got our agent, the tool calls, and then the outputs, right? It's pretty much the same thing, just looks a little bit differently. We are going to be calling tools similar to the sub workflows, right? So I got to break this down into have this agent understand the tool and the task, much like we were prompting our agent to do before, where it calls the email agent sub workflow, and then that workflow breaks out the plan. We're just doing it here in the switch node instead. As you can see, email send, calendar create. If you're not following me yet, it'll become clear in just a second. But essentially, we're doing the same thing as we were prompting this agent to do. We're just doing it in the one node here and then breaking it out of its box, right? So I'm explaining this now and trying to break this down visually for you because the most important part of building any agent is planning it out first, okay? So before we jump into this, we want to make sure that we know what tools we're calling, and we need to make sure that the agent knows what to do with that information, how that goes all along, that kind of thing, just like every other AI agent. I'm not going to get too deep into that. I'll just make sure that you have the system prompt available for you to screenshot and, put into ChatGPT to transpose or transcribe or whatever that is. And then we'll just go from there. Anyway, we've got that planned out. We're going to use Telegram just like we were doing down here with the more traditional AI personal assistant. Telegram message in. We've got Backboard as our AI brain. We're going to make sure that it identifies if we call a tool, what that tool is, what to do with that information, and then it outputs not just that information for the tool, but a response to the user. And then we're going to make sure that that's routed properly with this here switch node. We're going to call our particular tools. I've got this routed out pretty elaborate, I guess. I've got like a few different tools here. We're just going to keep it simple for our demo, but it'll become clear where you can take this further on down the line. Then we're going to parse our output, making sure that we've got a consistent format between email and calendar and sheets and whatever else we're calling. We want it to be able to pull that information and output the same sort of way. And then Backboard just logs that. It knows now what our email said, did, calendar, what we called, when, and then sends it out to Telegram. I know that sounds like a lot, but it's pretty straightforward once you actually dig into it, right? Just like Russian dolls. Task, tool, pretty straightforward. Okay, so with that, let's dive into it and show you exactly how we get here. I'm just going to turn this off for the time being. So with any Backboard assistant, you start in the same place. We're going to go with our manual trigger actually and start creating an assistant. So we need an HTTP request, and then we need to go over to Backboard to get this information. So if you go to backboard.io, their API docs are very well organized. Everything you need to get going is in the quick start, and they've got your API information right here. So let's just copy the base URL, backboard.io/API and punch that in here. There we go. It's going to be a post request. And then what else do we need? What's the endpoint? It's base URL/assistance. And then for the body, we need to send name. We need to send description. So name is the name of the assistant and the description is literally your system prompt. So let's just go down and send the JSON body. Oh, first, so we need to set up our credential. I like to use the generic header auth so that I'm not hard coding my API key or anything like that, but it's pretty straightforward. All you do is the standard n8n credential, API key, and then the value is your API key, just like that, no sweat. So let's go name, and we'll call this guy support bot. And the next header we need is our actual system prompt, which is actually labeled description. So then we're going to go and grab the system prompt from here. I'll leave this up. So honestly, all you can do, or what you can do, is just screenshot this page, paste it into ChatGPT, and then have it transcribe this page so that we're all starting from the same place. The agent knows exactly what's up. Agent knows what format we need, our calendar, etc. Okay, so we'll just copy this. It's already escaped so that it works properly as a JSON body. So we're going to go over to the description, make sure it's fixed. This might want to fling it over to expression. Just go fixed because this will work with our JSON body. And then we just go execute step. It's going to come back with our assistant ID. Bada boom. Great. So now this assistant is created in Backboard with this system prompt. It knows that it's outputting tool calls. We know what's going on. Next thing we need to do is create a thread. And that's essentially a conversation that we can message. Okay. So it's the same thing looking at the API documentation, base URL/assistance/assistant ID/threads. So I'm just going to cheat and double up on this. Assistants, we've already got /assistant ID. We've got that there. Threads, bang. And what do we send for the body? We send empty. Just 2 squiggly lines is what it wants. As you can see right here, JSON body, empty. So it's going to create a thread with this empty body. And now we've got our thread ID that we can message for our assistant that has all that information. Really is that easy. So from here, I'm just going to use the same HTTP request because life is easier that way. I'm going to go Telegram for our trigger on message. Lovely. I'm going to plug that into this guy and our assistant is coming along beautifully. Okay, so we'll change this up and make sure that we've got this done properly. I believe it's threads. I'm going to go over to the API docs. Base URL/threads/thread ID/messages. Okay, so threads, thread ID. We're going to plug in right here, making sure it's correct. Yep. / excellent. So we've got that there. Generic credential. Fantastic. Send body. Yes, but we're not going to do JSON. Over here, it says we need data, like form data, that is. And we need content, we need stream, and we need memory. So those are our required fields. We're going to go format. Content is the actual text message from the user. So what we get from Telegram, we'll go there. Content streaming is off. So let's go false. And content memory is auto. And that actually turns on our state auto. There we go. Perfect. Okay. So I'm going to send a message and it's going to break, but that's okay because we need the data to go through to a certain point. We can actually like map it out from there. That's going to happen a lot. If you're not familiar with n8n, it's kind of just the way she goes. So I'm going to make sure all my other triggers are turned off and let's test this out. I'm just going to go over to my tester Telegram agent here, and we're just going to go, yo, and that is going to send what we need to map out the text. Excellent. So I'm going to go over here. Fantastic. And we'll try one more time. Let's go. What is your task? What are your instructions? And we'll just execute the workflow. And what's it say? Making sure that it's got that system prompt. I'm here to assist you with a variety of tasks like sending emails, managing calendar events, managing the spreadsheet operations, all while following structured instructions. If you need something specific, great. Okay, cool. So that just confirms that everything is working as it should be, according to plan, right? So this is good, but now we need a way to parse its output. I just want to prove that it knows what's up. I'm just going to go, what would you do if I asked to send an email? Okay. I'm going to send that and let's test it and see what support bot has to say, making sure that, okay, cool. If you asked me to send an email, I would create a structured JSON command for the email sending task. Specify the recipient, subject, and body of the email you want to send, and then I would confirm with a natural language response. That is perfect. That's what we wanted it to do. Okay, great. So let's just get in there and do that. I'm going to grab this and just put it here, but I'm going to show you how I got to this. There we go, code node. To parse this out, I'm going to show you how we got here, right? I'm going to go execute step and it's probably not going to work, right? No good, invalid. What I'm going to do is go over and you see the system prompt. We want the output to be like this. So I'm going to go into ChatGPT and I'm going to ask it for a code node to do just that. So I'm going to go and give it the system prompt. First things first, copy that we already have, bang. I'm going to give it the output we want. which is command parameters, which is the body of the tool task we need, and then the natural response, which is the response to the user, just like this. Bada boom. You go like that. I need a code node parser in n8n that takes the following system message into account and outputs the response in the below format. Okay, something like that. You can honestly take the system message, take the input, take the desired output. That's how I get there. I'm going to show you what that JSON was, and you just copy paste it. Okay, let's copy this. Let's plug that in here, and it's going to be command. Excellent. So I'm going to go and just continue this line and be like, here's the input. We want natural response to be the output for the user reply. It's going to parse that out. A couple more shots of that. That sample helps a lot. So yeah, if you're ever in the weeds with n8n, honestly, you can just go and copy the input, tell it the desired output, and generally speaking, AI is good enough these days to make sure that that happens the way you want it. Excellent. Okay, so we've got this working out. Let's just make sure it actually outputs the command, send an email. Okay, and then it's gonna do a thing. I might ask what I want the body to be. Okay, it says, here's the email I'll send, is that cool? And I'll be like, yeah, send that email, please. Okay, and boom. And then it's gonna output command, just like we want it. Command, email, send, and then the parameters. Perfect. Okay, so now we're all set up to actually route this to the different places we want it. I know that might have seemed like a lot, but I mean, this is the most robust solution, period. Okay, so it output exactly the way we wanted it to. Command, email, send to Eric, confirmation for tomorrow. Here's your email. And then the natural response to the user, that'd be me. So we're in a position now where we can actually route this out to the tools. So let's get our switch node and show you how this works. So value 1 is going to be command. That's like our umbrella. Okay, so just like down here, that's going to be this here. That's just the one word now. Okay. Email agent, instead of calling this whole other workflow, we're just going to go down the email path essentially. And the task is going to be send. So it's split up just the same, but let's go. Value is /email _ send. And I'm going to rename the output to email, same thing. And then let's test this out. Goes down the right path, the email send path. Boop. So let's go and give it access to the Gmail. All right, go down to send a message. Fantastic. And we've already got all of the things we need for this email right here, right? So we've got our to, bang. We've got our subject. We've got our body right there. And if I go execute step, I just got an email. Let's do this. There. I don't know if you can see it. Boop. It's loading up. That's me sending myself an email. Done. Awesome. Right. So it takes that natural language requests. It parses it out into the right tool, the right task with all the pertinent information. And that's that. So the next thing we need is, this is where it gets a little bit tricky, but we need to make sure that we're collecting all the information from all the different tools in the same way that's compatible with all of the different tools we're going to call, right? So for example, Gmail is going to have a different response than our calendar, than Sheets, than whatever it is we plug in. Okay. So we need to figure out what our output response is and how we kind of want to parse that out. I know that's a little bit convoluted. I'm just going to copy this actually, and we'll move it over here. Okay, we've got this all sorted out, and let's plug this in this way. So what we want is to make sure that our agent knows everything that happened. So I've got this sorted out in the following manner. I want to make sure we know the command, like what task it just executed, the status of that task, results, and the details all in all, so that the agent can respond naturally to that information and send that out to our user, right? So our Telegram account. But the nice thing about this is that all of this is now logged in our Backboard agent. So it understands what's been going on. Let's just figure this out here. So the same sort of thing we're going to do, I'll show you how I got there anyway, is like working backwards from the response I want and the input I have is I've got to bridge the gap by asking AI how we get there. Okay, so let's use our email response as an example. Copy this and okay, email. Let's go. Here's the output from my email node, right? I want the following output for my back agent to enter. I'm just going to steal this. Boop. Get me a code node in JavaScript that would do this. Okay, cool. And then we just do that. We take that code, plug it into our JavaScript node. It doesn't have to be JavaScript. We've got Python here too, but usually JavaScript does the job. So I'm not going to split hairs. So that's just the send email. Obviously we can do like different things. So we would add a routing rule where the command equals, let's go like calendar, right? Rename output. We would go check calendar. See what I mean? Naming convention. Yeah. And then if the calendar was the tool that was being called, it would just simply go down that route. See what I'm saying? Excellent. Okay. Nothing crazy. Output. Syntax error. Like I said, sometimes. Okay. There we go. It's telling me that anyways. Okay. So this is a mistake on ChatGPT's part, but it's because it thinks that it didn't do anything. So I'm just going to take a screenshot of the workflow and we're going to go into ChatGPT. Here's the workflow. Can you please have the code node take previous nodes into consider for command? Also, if the email node outputs an ID, the request was success. Okay, excellent. And now the next thing we got to do is make sure that all of these are continuing on error, just so that we always get a reply whenever things happen. So I think this is going to do the job. Cool. Anyway, still thinking. Nice. It's clear from the screenshot. Here's the code node. Fantastic. That's what I want now. Okay, excellent. Let's try this out. Bring it, ChatGPT. Hey, okay, cool. Success. Fantastic. All right. And what do we got down here? JSON message text. We don't want this. You know why? Because that is not the same sort of thing. So we're going to go content. We're just going to format it in expression, just like I had here. Expression. Fantastic. Just like this. Okay, so right now it says email send. That's the command. Status success. Results. I'll send that email. And then it gives the information about the whole operation. Right? And now it'll be like, please respond naturally to the user based on this. Bada boom. Okay, so now finally we're going to connect our Telegram response node at the very end. Telegram, send message. Whoop, I always lose this. Send text message. Fantastic. Chat ID is going to be straight from down here. Boop, chat ID. Great. Text is going to be the response from our Backboard node. So I'm going to pin all of this. Pin all of it. Oh, we can't do it. I knew it so. Dang. Okay. You know what? One more time. There we go. Send that email, please. Execute workflow. Oh, it's because, okay, shoot. I got excited. So it's going to go through this whole thing all over again. Backboard's going to come up with a really cool response like this. Eric, we already knew that. I'm getting a dozen emails right now. Okay. So then we just go content over here. Bang. Right? Let's pin all of these and just execute that output. Email has been successfully sent to Eric. It's going to send it again because I clicked the thing again. One thing I like to do is make sure you get rid of this append n8n attribution, and you got to do it in the email nodes too, which kind of sucks, but that's okay. Great. So that is that. If you wanted to call your calendar, you just do the same thing working through the JSON nodes. But like, check this out. If I go back here, there's no memory attached to this, right? Let's just even be like, hey, what's Eric's email address, right? Something important that I'm glad we had here. How I have this routed down at the bottom is I've got all of these different tool calls, right? And then I've got a fallback for just a natural language response. So there's like send email, email draft, all this stuff, right? And then way down at the bottom, I've just got fallback as an extra. So anything that doesn't meet those criteria sends out to like a default, just natural language response. So we're going to put that in here too. I'm glad I almost missed that. So let's just go add option, fallback output, right? Extra output, just like this. We're going to send it. Excellent. Okay, cool. Okay. So for the fallback, we're just going to go over here and send the natural response from our code node. And I stole the thing from here, and then chat ID, same thing, just like this. Okay, so let's pin this and try that one more time. It's going to go down our fallback. Send this perfectly, right? Nope, but that's okay. Let's get rid of that n8n attribution. And we're just going to go natural response is what we're talking about, and it's going to get my email address right. Bang. Oh, that is very exciting. Honestly, it like might seem like a little bit more work with the switch node, but honestly, it's not. Like, take a look at this. You're going into your email agent and it's the same amount of wiring and like not anywhere near the amount of prompting. So if you want to build this out for yourself, I really encourage you to go back and screenshot the system prompt that I had, just even using it as a baseline to build out whatever you want. I'm using this for myself personally, and I'm going to build it out even further with some of the other tools that I use, right? Like my Notion database. And I mean, there's some MCP servers that you could punch into here that would be like really cool too. So Backboard.io is a game changer for the personal assistant. It's going to be Excellent. If you want to give it a shot for yourself, Backboard gives you free developer credits to get going if you sign up for an account today. Super great platform. You got access to 2,200 models as well. So you don't just have to talk to ChatGPT. Like you could change this model to Claude or K2 or Grok or whatever you like, your personal preference there too. And you're not messing around with tool callers. So you could go something really fast since this is going into its own little switch node. And anyway, a bit of a tangent. I am very excited for this. Can't wait to see what you build for it. Thanks for hanging out.